Hi everyone, this is Tanya from Flying Dog Studio. Thank you so much for joining me as we try out the Foliage Tones from Winsor & Newton's watercolor pencil set. This is their studio set that has 5 curated sets within it. And we're going to try these out today. And I will have to admit, these are the colors and this is the mixing chart that I did. And if you missed when I inked this and I did these charts and I did the box openings, I'm going to put those down below. We're mainly going to be using the greens because this is foliage tones, but I didn't have a lot of hope for this because there were colors in here that I really needed and I didn't have. So we'll see toward the end how I worked that out. But if you're looking at this piece, if you followed any of my works before and you're looking at it saying, this type of art looks kind of familiar, this is actually a Beatrix Potter piece, and I will put that down below, the link where I get all of my reference pieces for Beatrix Potter. And we're just going to get started on this. As you can see, I picked up Plum, and I'm giving everything a nice purple color. So you're not going to see all the coloring on this. I'm going to skip around. It's basically all going to be purple. This is part of an oak branch and there are some acorns on there, so those are not going to be purple. But what I am needing is a blue, green, and a gray. I have no blue in this set and I have no gray in this foliage set. And if you watch the opening of this, when I opened the boxes of these colors and I did the original swatchings, I said I felt as if they were missing some colors in some of these, and they duplicated colors in some of these boxes as well. But some of the boxes I felt as if could use colors from other sets. So if you're going out and I did want to mention this before I keep rattling on about the sets, I am using the Mono Zero eraser from Tombow. And I'm doing this because there's one spot in there I accidentally colored in and didn't mean to. This erases beautifully. So if you make a mistake with these, not a problem. So we're going to get started. I'm going to layer this. I'm not going to put all of the colors down. We're doing it a little bit differently because I need gray, and I'm going to put some colors together. I know from my swatching what's going to get me close to gray and what's going to get me close to the blue-green that I need. So that's why I started with plum. And I'm using a water brush. This is a Derwent Water-brush. And I wanted to see how this would work out in the field. So what I was saying previously before we talked about the eraser, if I were going to take this out into the field and do some plein air painting, could I take this set alone, this curated set, and do some foliage painting? And the answer to that is no. I'm just going to go ahead and give you a spoiler alert. The answer to that is no. But I decided to use the water brush just to kind of complete the thought on that idea, to see if you could take a water brush and this set of pencils and just create some foliage out in the field. And so that's why we're using the water brush on this. I'm not a fan of water brushes. If you've watched my videos, I like my Winsor & Newton pencils, but these are the greens we're going to use. We're going to use the wood green, the grass green, and then just green. Green has more of a blue tone to it. That grass green has like a yellow base. So I'm putting the blue toned green on top of the plum. And I'm going to do a little bit, and then you're going to see that I'll pull out that water brush and activate it. Because at this point, I'm thinking, I don't think it's going to work. When you look at it in some areas on paper on this stem coming down, you do see some gray with the purple and the green, but it's not the color she had. It's not exactly what I wanted, and I'm thinking, I've already inked it. I already have the color down. I don't want to do this whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and ink. I shouldn't say ink. I'm going to wet. I'm going to activate the watercolor on here in just this area just to see how it works. And I decided to layer this time instead of putting the colors down at the same time and letting them mix that way, because I wanted to do a layering. And I've gone back and forth. You can do that many different ways with these. You can either put all the colors down at once and then activate them with water, or you can layer it as I have done here. And so I decided on this one that I would try just layering. I do, when we get toward the end, do some putting all of the colors down at once. And again, I'm going to try this just to see if this is going to turn into what I need it to be. And it does not. But I decided to keep going. I'm going to come back. I thought, okay, new plan. I'm going to come back and I'm going to put the green and the purple on top again and see how it works out. And you'll see as we get closer to the end of the video. But I'm going to be quiet for just a few minutes and let you watch me work. And then I'm going to hop back on and explain some more about what I'm doing. By this point, you can probably tell that I have picked up that wood green whenever I have a darker green that I need to fill in. And the wood green does have a very strong blue-green to it, but when you add the water, it turns a little bit different color than what you're seeing on the paper right now. If I had left it and had not added the water on, then these colors would have fit more into the color range that I needed. But once you add the water, it changes the game. I also had some areas that had a little more of a yellow green to them, but a lot of this piece was a blue green or like a blue gray. And you just can't, there's not even a black in this set. There are several different shades of brown. You have red browns and then you have the brown browns, and in my opinion there are too many browns. Yes, some foliage is brown, but if you go outside right now, go and hug a tree, more than likely that bark is going to be gray, and I really could not create that with this foliage set. So, maybe when we get to the landscape set, I haven't tried that one yet. Maybe we can use that to do something like this. But not all landscape is trees. So it'll be interesting to see what we have in that. As I've picked pieces to do for these different curated sets, I've tried to pick pieces that allow me to use every pencil in the piece. Oh, and let me say, the video is about to get a little wonky here. I wanted to tell you before we went on. This is a different day of filming. I had a really rough week when I was filming this. We had a death in the family, and somehow when I started filming on this day, I hit the wrong thing on the camera, and it was doing cinematic, which means it's going to focus in on whatever's closest. So from this point on, you will note that there will be some video that is a little blurry and some that's not. I've tried to edit it out. As you can see, we're blurry here. Very good focus of my aging hand, but the picture is blurry. The art is blurry. Okay, here's Amber. We're using the same set here. I've actually stepped over into another color. As I said, I'm trying to use all the colors, but it's very difficult to get all of those colors used in this piece. And I do see the acorns. I'm going to come back and do the acorns, but I'm going to save those for last. Right now, my mind is focused on these leaves. And these leaves are just not going well for me. Again, I do apologize. This is a little bit blurry, but I think you can see what we're doing on this. You kind of get the idea. When I'm activating the second time around, and keep in mind that once I activate these colors, I am blow drying it. You can either let it dry by itself or make it dry. So I make it dry. I go ahead and use a hair dryer and get everything nice and dry on here, and then I come back and add the next layer. So as I'm adding these, you'll see I'll reach over quite often and hit my little rag at the side, and that's to kind of wipe off the color I have been activating, because I don't want the colors just everywhere. We're not just wanting to activate everything. Okay, here's my solution, guys. The skyscape tones. And again, it's out of focus, but these are the skyscape tones. I've already done a video for these, so I know what's in here, and these are the ones I want. You can see at the very top, we have some nice grays and browns, and then down at the bottom, we have that dark blue, and I'm going to start with some steel gray. I was so thankful to get steel gray. So I'm coming back over the stem because I want that to be gray, and I'm concentrating on the darker areas, but I'll tell you right now, most of this is going to get steel gray. I am going to come back with, I believe it's some cool gray 4 we'll check out in a minute, and then that really dark blue on the end there that you see, we're going to be picking that up as well. But I already have the green down, and I need it to be kind of a blue, green, gray, and putting that on top is going to help me out. So we're picking up the midnight blue. I know that was a little blurry, but that was midnight blue. Midnight blue is going to go on top here, and this had more of a blue-green on this particular leaf. And since I had already used these colors previously for a skyscape piece, I knew what they were going to do. So I'm just going to be switching back and forth. And I realize at some point in here that my pencils, because of the way I am holding them, and I will hold 2 to 3 pencils at a time when I'm using colored pencils, so I don't have to keep reaching back to the set. It's just an old habit of mine, and habits are hard to break. But I realized that the end of the pencil I'm not using is too close to the camera, and I thought that was what was making it go out of focus, but no, it was just my ability to hit the correct button. So I'm going to keep going over these back and forth, and again, I'm going to let you have a little musical interlude, and I'll hop back on in a second. Just a few more pencil strokes here, and I'm going to be picking up that water brush again, and look, we have gray. And having the plum and the green underneath just gives a little more interest to and a little more depth to the gray that we put on top. If I had this gray in the set, this still gray, I would still put probably a purple underneath or possibly a gray, depending on the stem, because if it's a newer part of the stem, it still may have, a younger part, it still may have a little bit of green left in the stem, so I'd want that underneath. That just adds a little more interest to the piece. And by adding those colors on first, they kind of keep their property when you add the gray on top. So I'm still seeing the purple coming through and the green coming through, but because they've already dried and I'm adding the gray on top, I still have that underneath, and it gives it a little more interest and depth. If I had put all of those colors down together, and sometimes that's what we want to do because we want to mix all of those colors together. If I had put them all down together, it would just all blended together into one color. But this way, I allow them to keep those properties while adding a little more interest on top. And now I am finally getting the blues and the grays that I wanted. This is the set, the original set that I was using, the foliage, and I'm going to come back in and I'm picking up another color. This is called Shale, and this is one of their brown tones, and that's what I'm going to use for the acorns. And I am going to pick up some more greens from this as well. I'm trying to decide at this point which one I really want. So we're going to pick up grass because remember, grass has more of a yellow green to it. And some of these acorns had, if you've seen like a new acorn, sometimes they still have a little bit of a yellow green to them before they turn into that dark brown. So I'm going to go over these once. I am an advocate of adding a little color because it's easier to add more than it is to correct if you get too much. So we're going to be doing these acorns a couple of times. I'll add the color and then I'll activate and then I'll come back and switch sets again. You'll see me. I'll let you know when I switch sets. So now we're back to the sky tones, and this is that cool gray that I was talking about because it works very well for the acorns. And as you can see, I'm putting all the colors on at once. As I was saying, sometimes you want all the colors on because you need a specific color, and that allows you just to go ahead and mix that. And at the end, I will come back and add more colors on top to get that depth I was talking about when you put colors down, and then activate them and let them dry, and then come back and put other colors on top. So again, have a watch here, and then we're going to come back and talk about all of this at the end. So I'm picking up that still gray and everything is dry, and I'm coming back and I'm getting all of the darkest areas in the piece. So I'm starting with the light and I'm moving to the dark, which is funny because if I were doing a regular colored pencil, I would start with the dark and I would work my way to the light because you burnish when you get to the end. You add that waxy buildup on there, and you do it a little bit differently when you're working with watercolor. So now that we have everything filled in, let's pick up the water brush one last time, and I'm going to activate those colors, and I'm finally seeing all of the shades that I need to see and all of the colors that have been built up. And again, I really love this Winsor & Newton set. I love the watercolor pencils. I can't say that I love the curated sets, all of them. I did love the sky tones and I was fond of the florals, but you be the judge for yourself on this and let us know in the comments below if you've used these and what you think. But personally, I think you just need to buy the larger set and just curate your own sets. I think it works better that way. Okay, on the left, that is the foliage set. The colors that are pointed with the tips down are the ones I used. The others are the ones I didn't use, so I didn't use 4 colors. If I were creating this set, I would leave out the butter yellow. You can use the regular yellow on there, just use it a little lighter. I would also get rid of the burnt carmine because, guys, you don't need them. And still gray and that midnight blue, I would definitely use the Still Gray and the midnight blue in this set. You can also take plum and you can take amber and mix them together, and guess what you get? Burnt carmine. So you don't need that burnt carmine in there. You really, really don't. So that's my opinion on the set, guys. You needed both of them to finish stuff. If you've tried this out, let us know in the comments below. I have 2 more of these to go through to finish up the Winsor and Newton curated sets. Those will be coming up. And until then, my friends, I'll see you in the next one.